Welcome back to Proper Madness. I am happy to have you back if you're a returning listener. If you're a new listener, my name is Sabby, and I have a very unique perspective on mental health. I believe wholeheartedly that we can turn anything that we have been through and alchemize it into bettering ourselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It helps you feel less alone, to know and understand that the way out is always through the eye of the storm. Grab a cup of tea. If you're not a tea drinker, grab your coffee, and let's sit down and tune into ourselves so that we can learn to connect to other people. We never know the weight of our words and how they might help someone. It's interesting. I think I've always been a deeply, deeply spiritual person, and energy is not really something I am accustomed to talking about, to be honest. I feel like I've been sort of low key in the spiritual closet without even realizing it. And what I'm coming to find very quickly is even with my new business, with the clients that I'm taking on, with the stories that I'm helping tell, with the photos I'm taking, it's all come down to one similar stream of a lesson and a theme, and that is being seen. Showing people different sides of themselves so that they feel more comfortable with who they actually are instead of who they tried to project to the world of who they should be. And I've gotten the same comment time and time again from every client is, I feel like your photos show me who I actually am, and I don't know how to feel about that. I feel like your videos actually capture the essence of me and the beauty of how I see myself, but the way that I project myself to the world is very carefully curated and different. Video and film and photography are all mediums of how we show the world what we see. Our art is us showing the world how we see the world. And so when we're overthinking and second guessing how we should show up and what we should create, resistance forms there because we're trying to perform. We're trying to show people a different side of ourselves that really doesn't exist. It's like acting. My brother is a beautiful, wonderful actor, and he knows how to put on these accents. He knows how to become a different person to play a character, but, and I'm sure most actors will tell you this, when they're trying to become a character and they're trying to become someone for something else, they have to take breaks from it and they have to find ways to reconnect to them. And so we're not in a play 24/7. We're not playing on stage 24/7. So why do we feel the need to always wear a mask and pretend to be a different version of ourselves, like we're playing a different part in a different movie for each person that we encounter? I very recently had a situation where I felt seen. I met up with someone to, meet them for the first time. And in that meeting, at the very start of it, I was so nervous. I was sweaty. I was a little like out of sorts. I was just kind of taken aback by this whole encounter and whole meeting because I was trying to be something that I wasn't, to try to get the other person to accept me and to like me. I was so focused on how do I get them to like me that I wasn't focused on, do I like this person? Do I know who they are? And so for the first portion of this meeting and this interaction, I know I'm talking in generalities, but I'm a private person. I was anxious. And the words that I was met with were, you don't need to try to be anything or anyone. You just need to exist. You just need to be you, and that's enough. And also, I was given questions of what do you need? How can I help? What would make you feel grounded? Are those questions we even stop to ask ourselves sometimes? Because I had to have another person say those things to me for me to stop and go, "Oh my God, I'm so used to doing this for myself that I'm not used to another person coming in and going, 'Hey, I'm here to help. How can I help?'" And I've heard that in therapy a couple times too, and with my mentor, but in different ways. Of when I accomplish something and I get it done and I do a great job at it, I have a hard time rewarding myself. I have a hard time stopping and going, okay, well, how can I stop and appreciate what I just did? Because I'm always going, and trying to perfect everything, trying to do instead of pause and have some gratitude and go, okay, look at all the energy I just put out there. Now, how can I reward myself and replenish my energy and come inwards? So, in being a creative, in telling other people's stories, in starting your own business, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. Energy is energy. And so when we allow our energy inside of us to become different versions of different people, of different situations, we're going to get so lost with what our own identity is that we're not going to be able to actually show up in a way that's authentic or create in a way that's authentic. And that can be in the simplest form. You don't have to be a painter, you don't have to be the next bloody Picasso, you don't have to be Guy Ritchie, but if you're creating content online, it needs to come from your truth and not from what you're trying to be or what image you're trying to project. Because art, in its simplest form, is truth. Art is the truth that we carry, that we want to show the world. And it may not always be perfect all the time, but truth is truth. And truth does not need to be perfect. It just needs to be honest. It just needs to be open. And you can always tell when someone's energy isn't honest and isn't open because they haven't been honest and open with themselves. There are so many beautiful people now in the spiritual community coming up from the ashes, coming up and rising up and meeting us all where we're at to help propel us to where we're meant to be in the collective. And so for a long time, I was creating for me, me, me. And I stopped and I went, well, why the heck am I here on this planet? Oh, yeah, all those past life regressions I did, all those spiritual moments that I had, all of that embodiment and magic and clairvoyance and everything that I've been given is to help the collective. And so if I'm here to help you figure out how to tell your story, the best way for you to do that is to first get honest with yourself. Because we try to tell a version of our story that we think people want to hear. Last week's episode, I felt really uncomfortable putting out there because it was a very aggressive truth. It was a very aggressive declaration. It was a very liberating moment for me, but I said a lot of things that I didn't really want people to know. But then I stopped and went, well, if I'm working for myself now, why does it matter? It's actually the same reason why I stopped myself from getting more tattoos was because I kept thinking about, well, I'm going to work in the corporate industry and what will people think and how will they treat me? Choosing yourself in whatever capacity is choosing freedom. Choosing to show up is choosing freedom. Choosing to speak your truth. You get it. Social media is a mirror. It's a mirror to everything that we think and believe about ourselves. It's a mirror of our current identity. It's a mirror of who we currently are because we're choosing to project a certain version of ourselves on this imprinted forever, paper, whatever you want to call it, but we're choosing what we're putting out there. So for me, I've seen my identity progress in many beautiful ways throughout this, almost like a little bit of a memoir. If I actually very recently went and like deleted a bunch of things off my social media because I was so I looked back and I said, yes, I appreciate every version of myself that ever showed up on this platform, that ever showed up, period. But I've made peace with it. And I don't really know if I want that, out there anymore. So every time I looked at something that I had posted or created, regardless of what kind of art it was, I asked myself a very simple question. Did I create this from truth, or did I create this for a need for validation, a need to be seen? A need and truth cannot really coexist. Because if you need something, it has this very clingy energy to it. Whereas if you're embodied and truthful, it feels more grounded and present. And so ask yourself, when you show up in the world, when you create your art, ask, what message are you wanting to communicate? How are you willing to inspire others? Is it from a selfish point of view of, well, I want to be seen because I want to make a lot of money? Yeah, that's great. That's beautiful. We all want that. But are you willing to be seen to be of service? Or are you willing to be seen just to be seen? Not for any selfish reason, but because maybe you allowing yourself to be seen will illuminate the path and the little light inside of someone else to want to be seen as well. Everything is energy. Everything. Whether you want to think or believe it or not, everything is. And so when we interact with social media, when we interact with our art, when we interact with all the experiences that we have in our lives, that is all an energetic frequency. And so when that energetic frequency exists, we get to choose if it's good or bad. We get to choose, is it truth or is it self-serving? So if you get to choose the energy, then you can take the energy of any situation, of any thought, of any feeling, of any interaction, and transmute it into what you want it to be, which is what today's episode is about. Transmutation is something I adore because I've been practicing it for a couple years now. And it first started for me of how can I transmute energy that's sent to me into what I need it to be for me. But then it got deeper and I started realizing that I've been doing transmutation and alchemization since I was a wee little thing with every situation in my life. Anything that happened to me or from me, good or bad, let's just for example's sake say bad. I took it and I transmuted it and turned that energy of that situation into how it could propel me and move me forward. I even started doing this like as a joke sometimes with me and my friends that anytime I get my heart broken, anytime I'm disappointed by a man, anytime anything happens that's, not of my favor, I always use that energy and transmute it into me bettering myself some way, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially. And it's always been true because I chose it. Energy is a choice. Energy is always a choice. So if you want to transmute energy and you want to use whatever energy that you are embodying and carrying and make it into something better for you, for the collective, for yourself, for your art, you get to decide that. Take the experience that you're going through, that you've been through, and stop sitting on it and thinking about how can I make this pretty, and start asking yourself questions of, well, what energy is this experience carrying for me? And how can I take it and transmute it and create something from it that's actually quite beautiful? A lotus flower, to me, embodies transmutation to its core because it takes its environment, all the murky waters, all the, poor environment that it's in, and it uses it to blossom. I have 6 tattoos. Each one has very deep meaning. One of them is a lotus with a date on it of June 13th, 2013. Growing up, I was always quite overweight. I never really took care of myself. I played a lot of sports. I was very, very active, but then there came a time where like I just rebelled against the world and I went, I don't care what I look like. I don't know how and why that happened. And then hormones, puberty, all the things. College, bad decisions. I talked about some of those things on my last episode. And so I never really took care of myself. And so on June 13th, 2013, I decided to change my life and to change myself. I decided to take all that energy that I had been using and wasting on trying to self sabotage and transmute it into bettering myself. So I got super into fitness and working out and eating clean and eating healthy. Like nothing processed touched my body for like 2 years. And I got sober. I didn't drink. I went to Coachella sober. That was a wild experience. It was awesome. I had a great time. But in all those experiences, that lotus flower to me represents every moment of reblooming from every situation and every environment that tried to keep me down. Transmutation and alchemy is just that. A lot of people talk about alchemy and transmutation, but they don't really truly understand the energetics behind that. The energetics behind it is so simple, yet we tend to overcomplicate it. And so to be a modern day alchemist and a modern day, transmuter, it's the same thing, sort of. You have to be willing to face and use that energy. To transmute, you can't block it out. You can't block out the energy. You can't block out the resistance. You can't block out the bad stuff. You actually have to take it on and use it and integrate it in order to create something. If you block out energy, you can't use it. It's the same with like emotions and your mentality. So if you're blocking a negative emotion, if you're blocking a negative belief, if you're blocking your shadow side, you can't use it to create anything. So use it to create something. And then I'm sure a lot of magic will happen. That's it for today's episode. Thank you. I know, different environment again. No need to point it out. It is what it is. You can't transmute energy that you're avoiding. That's not how it works. You have to use it. You have to sit with it. So sit with it and see what beautiful things you can create in your life, in art, otherwise. Every situation can be transmuted and alchemized if you wanted to. I don't know why I'm pointing my fingers like that, but if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify or wherever, please be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and let me know what you thought about this. I'd love to know if you have questions about transmutation, or maybe there's like different ways that you are thinking of that you have used transmutation without realizing it. So, yeah. Okay. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you on the next one. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube or whatever streaming platform you happen to be listening to this on, I encourage you to follow, like, subscribe, and rate this so that it pushes it out to whoever else might need it. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you ever want to chat more about anything that this podcast is about, you know where to find me. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and good old TikTok. And be sure to stay tuned for my Tea Time with Sabby episodes.